Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to dive right in, so make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching, and let's get started. The United States of America 5-cent coin dated 1978 with a D mint mark is part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938 and continues to remain one of the most familiar designs in American coinage. The 1978 D nickel was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark appearing to the right of the date on the obverse side of the coin. Like all regular-issue nickels of its era, it was composed of a durable copper-nickel alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a combination that had been standard since 1866, with the exception of the special silver alloy wartime nickel produced during World War II. The coin weighs 5 grams, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and has a plain, smooth edge. These physical specifications, which had remained unchanged for decades, made the nickel a reliable and consistent part of American circulating currency. Though ordinary in everyday commerce, the 1978 D Jefferson nickel is steeped in historical, cultural, and numismatic significance. On the obverse front, the coin features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States, 1801 to 1809, author of the Declaration of Independence, diplomat, philosopher, and visionary statesman. The portrait, designed in 1938 by artist Felix, had by 1978 already been in continuous use for 40 years. While Schlage's original design had undergone slight refinements over the years, primarily to improve clarity and relief, the overall composition remained consistent. Surrounding Jefferson's profile are inscriptions that are central to American identity. The national motto, "In God We Trust," appears along the left rim of the coin, running in a vertical arc from Jefferson's forehead down to the bottom edge. To the right of the portrait is the word liberty, rendered in a script based on Jefferson's handwriting, which serves as a subtle tribute to his individuality and legacy. Adjacent to this is the date 1978, signifying the year minting. Beside the date appears a mint mark D, confirming the coin's origin at the Denver Mint in Colorado, a facility known for its high-volume production of circulating coinage. The reverse back of the coin showcases Jefferson's beloved home, Monticello, a neoclassical mansion he designed and built in Virginia, which has become an enduring symbol of both Jefferson's genius and America's architectural heritage. Schlage's reverse design presents a frontal view of the building, focusing on its column portico and iconic dome. Above Monticello, the Latin phrase E pluribus unum is inscribed, meaning out of many, one. This motto reflects the unity of the American states forming a single nation, a principle central to the Republic since its founding. Beneath the building appears the word Monticello, identifying the structure, followed by the denomination 5 cents. Finally, along the lower rim, encircling the base of the coin, is the inscription United States of America. The clarity of Monticello's steps and architectural details is often used by collectors as a gauge of strike quality. Coins with fully detailed, uninterrupted steps, referred to as full steps FS examples, are scarcer and much more desirable to numismatists. From a historical context, the 1978 D Jefferson nickel represents a period of stability in U.S. coinage. The 1970s saw the American mint grappling with rising costs of precious metals, which had already led to major changes in the composition of dimes and quarters, transitioning away from silver in 1965. However, the nickel retained its long-established copper and nickel alloy, as it was inexpensive, durable, and well-suited to mass circulation. The design of the Jefferson nickel remained unchanged throughout the decade, and in 1978 it was as familiar to the American public as the Lincoln cent or the Washington quarter. At this time, the Jefferson nickel was a staple of everyday life, used in vending machines, payphones, laundromats, and public transportation. While electronic transactions were still decades away from becoming dominant, the nickel played a steady role in small cash exchanges, ensuring its widespread daily use. The Denver Mint produced an abundant supply of 1978 D nickels, with mintage figures reaching into the hundreds of millions. This high output ensured that the coin would be widely distributed across the United States, and as such, circulated examples remain very common today. Most surviving 1978D nickels display the usual expected from decades of use. Jefferson's cheek and hair often appears smooth, while details on Monticello's dome and steps are typically worn down. Nonetheless, coins preserved in mint rolls, bags, or government-issued mint sets retain their original satin-like mint luster, often showing a bright silver-gray finish that reflects the coin's metallic composition. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickels pay special attention to the strike quality of 1978D nickels, as Denver Mint coins sometimes exhibit sharper detail than their Philadelphia counterparts, though this varies from die to die. In terms of numismatic value, most 1978D Jefferson nickels in circulated condition are worth only their face value of 5 cents, given their huge mintage and survival rate. However, uncirculated examples, especially those graded MS65 and higher, are of interest to collectors, with particularly pristine coins commanding modest premiums. The greatest value lies in coins with a full steps designation, as these represent the best struck examples from Denver's 1978 production and are considerably harder to find than typical circulation strikes. For registry set collectors, who seek to assemble the finest possible collections graded by third-party services, such high-grade full steps coins can fetch substantially higher prices. Proof versions of the 1978 Jefferson nickel were also produced that year, but exclusively at the San Francisco Mint with the S Mint mark, meaning they are distinct from the 1978D circulation issue. Ultimately, the 1978D Jefferson nickel embodies the role of American coinage in the late 20th century, a coin that was so common and familiar that most people never gave it a second thought, yet one that encapsulates artistry, tradition, and national symbolism. Through Jefferson's portrait and the image of Monticello, the coin ties together themes of leadership, independence, and cultural achievement. It also reflects the durability of Schlag's design, which endured for more than 6 decades with only minimal alteration. Though not rare in the absolute sense, the 1978D nickel carries value as a piece of living history, connecting everyday commerce with the ideals of one of America's most influential founding fathers. The United States of America 5-cent coin of 1990 bearing the P Mint mark is part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series, a coinage tradition that began in 1938 and has remained an important element of American circulating money for decades. On the obverse, the coin features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and one of the nation's most revered founding fathers. The portrait, originally designed by Felix Schlag when the series debuted in 1938, had by 1990 already been in continuous use for over 50 years, though slight modifications have been made over time to sharpen the relief and improve striking quality. The obverse also bears several inscriptions familiar to U.S. coinage. The word liberty appears to the left of Jefferson's profile, written in cursive script inspired by Jefferson's own handwriting, while the national motto, "In God We Trust," arcs across the left side, closely hugging the edge of the coin. Beneath Jefferson's portrait is the date 1990, and just beside it to the right is a small letter P, the mint mark indicating that this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. On the reverse side, the coin proudly displays Monticello, Jefferson's neoclassical home located near Charlottesville, Virginia. Monticello has long been regarded as one of the finest examples of American architecture, designed and modified by Jefferson himself, and its appearance on the coin reflects both his contributions as a statesman and as a man of ideas and culture. The depiction is a frontal view of the domed mansion, showing its symmetry and elegance, though the level of detail is somewhat simplified to fit the scale of a small circulating coin. Above Monticello appears the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, a phrase symbolizing the unity of the states forming one nation. Below the image of Monticello is the word Monticello, clearly labeling the structure, and beneath that is the word 5 cents, signifying the denomination. At the very bottom of the reverse, curving around the edge, is the inscription United States of America, tying the coin back to the nation it represents. The 1990 Jefferson nickel was struck in large numbers for everyday commerce, and because of its base metal composition, it was never intended to be a precious metal coin but rather a durable, practical piece of money for the public. It was minted from an alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a silver-gray appearance with a slight metallic sheen, though it lacks the actual silver content found in older U.S. coinage like wartime nickels of 1942 to 1945. Each coin weighs 5 grams, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and has a smooth, plain edge with no reading. These specifications have been standard for the denomination since the Jefferson design's introduction in 1938, and they remained unchanged in 1990. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced the P-marked nickels, issued hundreds of millions of them that year, ensuring their wide circulation across the United States. From a numismatic perspective, the 1990p Jefferson nickel is considered a modern circulation issue with little rarity and worn condition, as millions survive. Most examples seen today will display the normal signs of handling, such as surface nicks, dulling of the luster, and faint wear on Jefferson's cheekbone, hair details, and the steps of Monticello. Collectors, however, seek out well-struck coins with sharp details on Monticello steps, known as full steps nickels, as these are considerably scarcer and demonstrate a higher level of minting quality. Brilliant uncirculated specimens, particularly those preserved in original rolls, mint sets, are found in high-grade condition, display the satiny or slightly frosted luster typical of Philadelphia mint output during this period. Proof versions of the Jefferson nickel were also struck in 1990 at the San Francisco Mint, with a S mint mark, but those differ significantly from circulation strikes in both production method and finish. Historically, the 1990 Jefferson nickel represents a continuation of American coinage traditions during the late 20th century, a period in which the designs of U.S. coins had become very familiar and unchanging to the public, while other denominations, such as the quarter, would soon see major design changes through commemoratives and later statehood quarters. The nickel in 1990 carried the same appearance it had maintained for over half a century. This stability gave it a sense of continuity, linking generations of Americans through the everyday coins they used. The Jefferson nickel was also symbolic of democratic ideals, not only honoring a president but also highlighting his architectural masterpiece, Monticello, which stood as a representation of Enlightenment thought, independence, and the early spirit of the United States. In circulation, the 1990p nickel performed its role in everyday transactions, commonly used for vending machines, public telephones, which still required nickels and dimes in 1990, and countless small purchases. While largely overlooked by the general public, these coins nevertheless carried with them the artistry, history, and symbolism of the U.S. Mint. For collectors today, they serve as affordable pieces of history, accessible to anyone who takes an interest in American coinage. High-grade certified examples, particularly those with full steps on Monticello and minimal marks, are more desirable and can command collector premiums, while typical circulated examples remain worth only their face value. The United States of America 5-cent coin dated 1994 with a P mint mark is part of the Jefferson nickel series, which had already been in continuous production for more than half a century by that time. The series, introduced in 1938, replaced the Buffalo nickel and has remained one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history. The 1994 P nickel was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, as denoted by the small P mint mark found to the right of the date on the obverse. Like all circulation nickels of the era, it was made from the long-standard copper-nickel alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a metallic composition chosen for durability and resistance to wear. The coin measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, weighs 5 grams, and has a smooth, unreeded edge, all specifications unchanged since the first Jefferson nickels of 1938. Although ordinary to the public as everyday change, the 1994 P nickel carries within it a layered blend of artistry, historical commemoration, and practical minting tradition. On the obverse, the coin features the enduring portrait of Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the United States, 1801 to 1809, founding father, principal author of the Declaration of Independence, an intellectual figure of the early republic. The design, originally created by sculptor Felix Schlag in 1938, portrays Jefferson in left-facing profile. By 1994, the design had undergone slight refinements over the decades to improve striking quality, but its essential form remained unchanged. Around Jefferson's portrait appear key inscriptions familiar to American coinage. The motto "In God We Trust" arcs along the left edge in bold capital letters, symbolizing the nation's reliance on divine providence. Beside Jefferson's chin and along the right side, the inscription Liberty appears in script, a style modeled after Jefferson's own handwriting, serving as a subtle tribute to his personal influence. Directly beside this inscription is a date 1994, denoting the year of issue. Just to the right of the date lies the mint mark P, identifying Philadelphia as a place of striking. This obverse layout had become instantly recognizable to Americans, unchanged for decades, and represented continuity with the past even as the nation approached the 21st century. The reverse of the coin depicts Jefferson's famous residence, Monticello, the neoclassical mansion he designed and built in Virginia. The rendering shows a frontal view of the building, highlighting the iconic dome, the central portico, and the balance of classical architectural elements. Above Monticello is a Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, a long-standing motto of the United States symbolizing unity among the states and peoples of the nation. Below the architectural image is the word Monticello, identifying the building, and beneath it appears a denomination 5 cents. Finally, arching along the bottom border is the inscription United States of America, affirming the coin's national identity. While the details of Monticello varied in sharpness depending on the quality of the strike, the reverse design was always intended to celebrate Jefferson not only as a president but also as a man of science, architecture, and culture. Collectors often look closely at the steps of Monticello, as coins showing full steps, FS, that is, complete, uninterrupted detail across the base steps, are scarcer and command greater collector interest due to the technical difficulty of achieving such sharp strikes. From a historical standpoint, the 1994 Jefferson nickel belongs to a period of stability in U.S. coinage design. The coinage landscape in the early 1990s saw little change, with the familiar designs of Roosevelt dimes, Washington quarters, and Lincoln cents remaining largely static. The Jefferson nickel was a steady presence in circulation, serving daily commerce in countless ways: vending machines, transit tokens, arcade machines, and everyday purchases often required nickels. In an age before widespread electronic payments, the nickel remained a practical and frequently used coin. While the design was considered by some to be dated after more than 50 years of uninterrupted use, it also provided Americans with a tangible link to national history, ensuring that Jefferson's image in Monticello remained part of the collective consciousness. The Philadelphia Mint produced an immense number of 1,994 nickels, ensuring their widespread availability. With mintage in the hundreds of millions, the coin was never rare in circulation. Most examples encountered today are well-worn from years of handling, showing smoothness across Jefferson's cheekbone, flattening of his hair detail, and weakening of the steps on Monticello. However, examples preserved in uncirculated condition, particularly those stored in original mint rolls, bags, or government-issued mint sets, retain their full mint luster. This luster, typically satiny with a subdued glow, is a hallmark of late 20th century Philadelphia mint production. Collectors seeking gem mint state examples, MS65 and above, or coins with the elusive full steps designation pay particular attention to 1994p nickels, as these represent a higher level of preservation and strike quality than the ordinary circulation strike. In terms of numismatic value, most 1994p Jefferson nickels in circulated condition are worth only face value, given their abundance. However, well-preserved uncirculated examples, especially those certified by grading services as MS66 or MS67, are more desirable. The most prized pieces are those with full steps, which demonstrate a strong strike and minimal die deterioration. Such coins can bring significant premiums compared to typical uncirculated examples. Proofs of the same year, however, were struck separately at the San Francisco Mint with an S mint mark in both standard proof and silver proof sets, but the 1994p circulation strike stands apart as a regular workhorse coin of the economy. The 1994p Jefferson nickel is thus both ordinary and extraordinary. Ordinary in the sense that hundreds of millions were struck, spent, and used in the everyday rhythm of American life. Extraordinary in that it reflects the endurance of design that connected mid-20th century America with the 1990s, and ultimately with the early 2000s before the design was finally changed in 2004 and 2005 during the Westward Journey nickel series. For collectors, it serves as a snapshot of U.S. coinage just before the dawn of modern redesign movements, and for historians, it is a reminder of Jefferson's enduring role in American identity. For casual observers, it may be just a nickel, but in reality, it carries within its small frame the symbolism of a nation, the artistry of a mint engraver, and the memory of a founding father whose contributions shaped the United States.